Hello, I'm Kristen. I'm a police wife, and I have been posting here on YouTube and on Instagram since 2021 about my police wife journey. And I share a lot with you guys all about like resentment, frustration, the challenges of being a police wife. And I haven't really shared that much about my story, so I'm going to do that here. And then I am going to give you a free preview of one of the pre-recorded videos in my police wife coaching program, which I call Honu. I grew up in Hawaii, and Honu stands for turtle, and it also stands for long life, and that's really what I hope for your marriage and life. I will link the timestamp if you just want to watch the preview video of from my course and coaching program. But for now, I'll tell you a little bit about like why I created this specific course and a little bit about my marriage. So I've talked to you guys before about this in other videos, but I really struggled with resentment and frustration over the schedule and all of that, like starting right when Rick and I got married. I had moved out to LA, I was pregnant, and we were already married for a couple years, but just long distance. And I moved to LA, had Maverick, our first son, right away. And Rick was working gangs. He was working a lot of hours, and I was really overwhelmed by caring for this brand new baby and not having a ton of like family around to help. I felt really alone, and I would tell Rick like, you're never home. It was really unhelpful. I have videos on that, on resentment, and in my coaching program, we really focus on that. And maybe you won't call it resentment, maybe you'll call it anger or frustration. Or maybe you feel overwhelmed, right? So nowadays, I feel like sometimes that feeling will creep up when I feel overwhelmed. There's so much on my plate, and I'm taking care of the house, and there's a full like thing of dishes, and I'm standing above it, and I'm trying to make my kids lunch for the night the next day, and Maverick or Leonidas are crying at me or whining or they're fighting, and I feel overwhelmed, and I feel it all on me. And Rick isn't home, and I get the text that he's gonna have to work late, and I was hopeful that maybe tomorrow he would be home right in the morning. If this sounds familiar to you and you feel that getting that text or message that your spouse is gonna work late, and now you're gonna have less help the next day because they're still gonna be sleeping to recover from their shift. If you feel those things really close to your heart and you have frustration, maybe you might say anger, you might feel lonely or things like that, then that is what this course is designed to address. Because when I was in that place of the most feeling of resentment and I was really fighting against like Rick's schedule, I found a way out, and I call that my resentment funk. Like I was in this funk, I was lost in it. And the ways that I got out, mostly, a summary of my course, the things that we talk about are, number one, acceptance, right? So like accepting this role. We can't change anything about the schedule. We can't change anything about being a police spouse. This is what we are. And those things, those chaotic, unexpected schedule changes, they come with it. So what are things, if we accept that, step number one, then we talk about practical changes in the course, things that you can do to prevent having those feelings of overwhelm and resentment. We also talk about gratitude, because that is another way, another mindset shift that helped me to get out of those feelings. So really being thankful for Rick and everything that he does for the family, and focusing on that rather than focusing on being annoyed at the schedule. So those are things that we talk about in the course, and if you relate to these feelings at all, I really encourage you to look at the description below. If they're watching this live, I'm starting it next week on Monday, so definitely sign up soon. But if you are looking in the future at this video and relating to things I'm saying, I will have hopefully 2 6-week sessions of this coaching program in the fall and 2 in the spring. So definitely look at the website below for future dates that are available for the program. And I'm going to now play my first video in the course, which is all about acceptance. And I call it Pride. I hope that you enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you in my next week's video. Have a great day. Hello, I'm Kristen, and I am so excited that you are here watching the first video in my Honu Police Wife Coaching Program, which is also welcome to police girlfriends and other law enforcement officer wives and girlfriends as well. In this first video and this first week of the program, I am going to be talking all about pride. So pride and really embracing your role as a police or first responder, wife or girlfriend. And this is really a critical part of the process because I believe that a lot of times resentment, frustration with it, and loneliness, all of that actually comes from not embracing the parts that come with it and our unique role in our families. So first of all, I want to tell you that I heard this from someone that read my book, and it said it so beautifully. You are a unique, special part of society, you and your family. And that is so amazing. I love the way that this person worded that. We as the wives, we don't go out there, we don't fight crime, but we hold a unique place in our family. And my husband will tell you that I have been the rock in the family. I didn't realize until writing my Police Wife devotional and really thinking about my story and our story as a couple and as a family that injury on duty was a big part. It was a theme in our marriage. Like, that's crazy, but it was. And during those times when Rick was not just not at work, but really like home and injured and not able to help, I had to step up. And I want to share something very deep with you that Rick's dad was a law enforcement officer. If you haven't read my book or my blog, you might not know this. And he was shot in the head on duty. This was before Rick became a law enforcement officer, and when he was only 6 years old. Poor Rick was only 6. And his mom, Rick's dad, did recover, but it did impact him like the rest of his life, and he did remain an officer for a while after that. But obviously, Rick's mom had to then be the rock, right, for the family during that time. And so I think that it's so important to remember that we hold this really critical place in our families to create I consider routines in our family that are stable, create the stability due to our spouses' crazy schedules, right? We create that stability and routine, whether or not their schedule is crazy or not, right? And also as a mom, I'm creating that. And that's really always been really important to me, is creating that routine that is normal, no matter what Rick's schedule is. At the very beginning of our marriage, I had not reflected on like Rick's mom really being a police wife too, and then other people in my life who might have been law enforcement. I didn't grow up in a law enforcement family. I really didn't know anything about it. I grew up a hippie family, and I want you to think about that. Like, how does your background impact your current marriage and like your assumptions about what a marriage looks like? Because our marriage and our family looks different than the average family. And that is okay. You can still find joy and be happy in it, I promise you. And if you are in a tough spot, I promise you can find joy in it. I think that what helped me to really start to piece together the fact that I was a police wife, and that was unique. I wasn't just a wife, was like visiting Rick at work. So we don't go that often. He works about 45 minutes away from us, at least, depending on LA traffic. But that really helped me to do that, to go to any like functions that the police department had. So we visit him probably once or twice a year. It helps me and the boys. We are a unique family. We don't really see him in uniform. He changes in and out at the station, and he gets his clothes cleaned by a dry cleaner. So I know I'm spoiled on that respect as a wife, but I don't wash his uniforms. But I think that because we don't see him in uniform, I wasn't really conscious of it, but I think seeing him in uniform, like at the station, really makes it real for me. and then also attending functions. So I remember going like to a holiday party, and then we've been to like a picnic and stuff like that, and being around the other families, really relating with the other wives. And then obviously I love using social media for that now, but it took me a long time to really realize like, oh, I can bond with these people because we live similar lives. So I highly encourage you to do that as much as you can. Like, not overly visit your spouse at work, but create kind of a routine around it like I do, maybe once, twice a year. If you live closer, it's totally fine to do more. And try to attend the functions that they have. So Rick is like not into them. Usually he doesn't want to go. But once in a while, it's really nice to kind of see that you're a part of this huge law enforcement family, and it helps you to develop that pride over time. And I think that over time as well, befriending police wives helped. So that's why I really hope that our group coaching time that is live together, you can share and relate with other wives and realize that we have so much in common. It's crazy. And that will really help you to develop your pride as well. One of the wives that she's been married 30 plus years, Linda, she does individual and I think some group coaching as well. From Peaks and Valleys. She's amazing. She has taught me so much, and I've never met her. But one of the things she said is that we do take on more as police wives. We do. And that is it. That is the way that our lives are. And it's so interesting because Rick's mom also has said something like that to me before. This is what life gave us. And we don't complain about it. We just keep going. We just have to deal with it and just deal. Like this is, I married Rick because I love him, and I know that you are with your partner, your officer, because you love them, and the job comes with them, right? And it's a big part of them, but it's not all of them. And Linda is now retired with her husband and able to show us that like we have to think about the long term. Like we're in this marriage forever. At least I am, and right, and I know you are too. And we have to think about the fact that this won't be our lives forever. And it does get easier as your law enforcement officer is on the department for longer. Their schedule will get less crazy. And so that was really helpful for me to hear from her. We do take on more, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. As long as both of us, we see and acknowledge the partnership. So whether or not you're a working mom and wife like I am, if you are a stay-at-home mom and wife, it might be even more obvious that you are taking on the home responsibilities. But also as a working mom and wife, I do too, because Rick works so much and he's just really not here. The 4 days a week he works, generally 4/10s, he is going to be gone most of the day. We might see him for half hour. So I do want to normalize that for you too. If you happen to be new in this life, it's kind of tough. We're going to talk about in future videos about routines and how to really still maintain like our relationship because of that craziness that the schedules cause. But I think right now I just want you to reflect on your role in this police wife life. So one of the things that really helped me, like honestly, that I didn't even realize some things that were like I was talking about at the beginning about the injured on duty, like that was a theme in our marriage these last 9 years, like that's craziness, was that there were themes that are a bunch of them that are related to law enforcement, and that is writing my book. So when I wrote my devotional book, I was able to see all of these unique things that were a part of us in our marriage and a part of me as a wife, and the things that I needed to do because of Rick being a law enforcement officer. So this is my homework for you this week. Whether you are a writer or a talker, whatever might help you, but I'm going to have a handout for you that is kind of like journaling exercise. I want you to think about the uniqueness that comes with being a police wife, girlfriend, or law enforcement wife or girlfriend. And I want you to write it down if you can. If not, think about it and maybe jot down some notes and then bring it with you to our live session and share it with the group. So I want us to relate on these things And I want you to embrace those qualities. So like one of the things that I also saw is that Rick doesn't really, as good as he is at separating work and home life, he really doesn't come home and talk about work a lot. We traveled to Japan, for example, and even going to like Hawaii, there's things that come up that are unique because of his perspective of the world. So we're all the way, across the world in Japan, and there were a couple of incidents that happened that he saw things differently because of his role as a police officer. So it's like we can't ever truly leave it, as good as he is at separating his work and home life. And I think that thinking for you through those things, I want you to think about those things and have pride in it. We make a lot of sacrifices, but we are a part of this beautiful role in being police wives and girlfriends and law enforcement and first responder wives and girlfriends to help our community out, right? And I also volunteer. This comes from my profession, not just because my role as a police wife, but I volunteer as a board member on a nonprofit. And that helps me also to really embrace my role in the things that I learned from Rick to contribute to our community positively, right? So like think of, okay, I know we're not this, so we're not a first lady or anything like that, but think about how the president and the first lady are. The president is leading our country, and then the first lady is there to do other things that can also positively support our country. And you, as your kind of first lady in your marriage, you can do positive things in your community too, and that really helps me. So I'm on the board of a brain injury center, which is a nonprofit, and we support all different kinds of survivors, but survivors of crime, survivors, veterans, and law enforcement officers. And that really allows me to see and apply the things, the unique knowledge that I learned from Rick, and help our community out. So that's another way that I embrace this life. I really hope that this helped you out, and I so look forward to our conversation this week. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.